Hey! G'day everybody, my name's Jeremy and I'm doing a lot of stuff. I recently had an interview with an awesome man by the name of Michael. He's an amazing fellow, it was a really good interview. And I kind of felt the need to start putting out a bit more content that's more personal to what I'm doing, what our community is doing, because there's some pretty big stuff going on. And I feel like that really needs to be shared. It's some pretty serious stuff. And I'm on my way to a meeting that I think people deserve some insight into everything that this group is doing and that we're doing to try to make positive change in the community. So let's teleport to the meeting and I'll introduce you to some of the people. Hello.
Hello.
How you going?
Good.
Sorry I'm a bit late.
Well, that's all right. Oh, we're recording. Okay. So welcome to Noel's Shed. So this is a bit of a think tank. So what we're having we think about certain issues, and we had a great little meeting today. It was to do with Cole and his farm. It was to do with the water supply, the whole thing. And just a great little thing. We had Tracy come along. Pity she's just left. But it was a good little get together. And the more we do of these things, the more we get focused on where to put our energies. We're trying to achieve awareness, first of all, of I guess, what's actually going on behind the scenes. Because we have this veneer that the government says that by their paperwork, everything's clean, everything's organised, everything's above board. Then we speak to the farmers, like Colin, and he tells a different side of the story. So we're trying to expose that, so we're becoming educated ourselves, but also to educate the public. The more we become educated, the more we're able to question these people and to try and improve what's there, and especially in the water situation, everyone drinks water. So we want to make sure that what we are, helping people drink fresh water and be healthy. The idea with the water supply is generally they were in Crown land, so when the government set up these dams, they acquired a lot of the land from farmers, and then they made a secluded area from farmers to do their normal farming practices, so they maintain clean water. What we found out over a period of time, they've been selling off, leasing, or actually running their own farming in there for ulterior purposes. So they've been having farming, or wouldn't say farming practices, I'd say economic practices or financial practices there for a financial return as opposed to having the area there for fresh water. I'm just concerned for a mate. I see the situations as bigger than just helping a mate. It's actually helping the community, it's helping my health, and I think we deserve better, and I believe we can do better. I'd say every time you see a brochure with lovely green fields and a nice healthy young girl holding a flower, they do a great photo job. But behind the scene, you'll see most institutions have a financial responsibility or a political responsibility which outweighs the health responsibility. So yes, it's good to have a healthy distrust of some of these big organisations, especially when you see there's a human disconnect. We don't actually get to talk to the person who does the water testing or who does all the other things. We get to talk to a secretary, we get to talk to people in the office. So they also sometimes don't even know what's happening behind the scenes, which is always the case of anything when it becomes very big, very institutionalised. So our heart is to try and break that institutional mentality and really get to make them accountable. And also in the process, we also become more aware of how to understand what our drinking water's like, how it's worked, how it becomes to our tap, our faucet. Why is it that so many people go and buy a bottled water, or the first thing they do when they go into a house is they get water filters? There's a general distrust already, but at one stage there wasn't. At one stage there was a situation as a kid. When we grew up, there was no one with water filters. Everyone drank from the tap, and to my understanding, there's very little problems with sicknesses or things like that. So somehow we've got very big. Now we can say the population's grown or whatever, but there's been other levels of infiltration that are worth questioning, and that's what we're doing at the moment.
The meeting we just had was about formulating and finalising a bit of a campaign to ask questions of key stakeholders around our water catchment and key stakeholders in the government around the mismanagement of our fresh water supplies and catchment. That's what it's about. So it's quite a big project which we need to formulate and structure and step out carefully to ensure that our efforts have a bit of impact and we get some answers on what we're going to try and achieve, which is cleaner water for Gippsland. Our water's been in question for quite some time with the introduction of fluoride. I think that was back in the 50s or 60s. And since then, water cleanliness and the quality of our water has been in question. I personally have been purchasing water for well over 20 years and have refused to drink tap water for that period of time. I've been to other countries also where the water quality has been terrible. You don't drink the tap water in places like America where you'd think it'd be quite superior. But no, it's really bad. And it was really bad when I first got there, which was a number of years ago. And I won't state exactly what year that was. No, it's been really bad. So, yeah, and it's only getting worse. And what has been highlighted by the neighbours of the Moondarra Dam needs to be addressed. And I think it's a perfect opportunity to do that via this mechanism of a small think tank group who are sitting down, brainstorming ideas, bringing those ideas to fruition, making them tangible, workable options, and then putting to the key stakeholders who may be in the position to make decisions about that. I personally am involved because I think our administration and governance of this country for far too long has gone unchallenged or unquestioned. My charter now is to challenge every person in a position of authority as to what they are doing, what they are administering, and what legislation they are enforcing, to see if they know what they're doing, because a lot of it doesn't make sense to me, and I think they need to be challenged. So everybody's going to be challenged as far as I can muster in every bit of energy, and that can be from local action groups who advocate on behalf of their residents, right through to whoever holds the highest office. If I can find a mechanism to challenge those people, I will be working tirelessly to challenge those people in those positions. It's quite simple. We're going to ask the questions. What are you doing? And you can answer it, because for far too long they've been working in what's the word? When you work in silence, when you work behind the scenes, when you work covertly. Yes, far too long they've been working covertly, and that has to stop. I would like the people in those positions to actually have a think about what they're doing and to go back into their human side and not their administrative side, and just to have a look at their moral base and their moral fibre. Because some of the things that are happening to us as a society is just ridiculous. It is just ridiculous. It's harmful. It's affecting people's psychological well-being, physical well-being, financial well-being, and spiritual well-being. I've got a few irons in the fire at the moment. Along those lines too, locally, with a local action group, I have a role in the executive of the Latrobe Valley Common Law. I have a hand in a mental health group, Better Mental Health Services in Traff as a volunteer. And it's been mingling with a political party in the area as well. So yeah, I've got a few irons in the fire. And I'm trying to apply that same philosophy to challenge all the decision makers and ask them the question, why and what are they doing? Why are they doing it for? Just recently, where they've sold off Vic Roads, they've sold off title offices in New South Wales, they've sold off the Victorian Titles Office with little to no consultation. So this stuff goes on all the time. I've watched for many years as they've sold off many of our assets, including the power stations, including our freeways and our highways, and the natural consequences to that is us as a society, as the people of this country, suffer. That has to be questioned. That's got to be questioned at the highest level. And why aren't we consulted as members of this community? Why don't we have any sort of decision-making processes or control over how we are governed only through a 3-year and 4-year election process, which is totally inadequate? These are some of the questions that need to be asked, and these are some of the avenues I'd like to pursue whatever way I can.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Right, so we have our full team here, and what are we doing now? What's the plan? What's this meeting about?
Well, our get together today, I suppose, is we've been, I believe all along, attempting to see how our structure will be long-term sustained as we see what we're doing here is challenging and questioning a lot of ways that policies and laws and things have been passed down in the last, I suppose you could really say over years, but this brought a lot of us together more serious in a way when we started realizing about the coercion and everything of vaccines, and we been able to access a lot of information worldwide and found a lot of truths out there. So with all that there, we've been fortunate to have some people in the beginning that stood in the park and come together during the mandates. With all that there, it gave a lot of hope to some of the others that were seeking and looking for other people like-minded that they've been learning about and hearing, to make that more confirmed. Through the last 24 months for myself, I found that as we form these groups and they become more as a real friendship and support group and more like a family, as well as we bring with us our background and our experience, some of us being family people, as well as the many experiences that each of us bring, we find that it really kind of connects a lot of what we're trying to do here. So that it's amazing because we didn't really know each other before, and it's spiritually that we can that we're experiencing is a big part of it, because all my connections and friends that I've had in the past, really, I'm not with them so much anymore. It's more of what we're doing with our group. So with us going forward, with our region in this area, we're looking at other groups around the state of Victoria that are doing similar things, and we're wanting to unite and get what they're doing well, and they can receive what we're doing well. But what I see now is the main thing now is to get these working groups to support our leadership, because we have our great leadership people that are we can tell that we have that with us, and people like myself, the little guy or the in the background, we want to get behind and support them.
If I may, look, I think one of the biggest things is, I was just thinking as Joseph was talking, the whole reason that we're here is we've had almost a spiritual explosion that something isn't right with our society. Because we had this thing, we were brought up, trust me, I'm the doctor. And we believed everything. All of a sudden we saw on TV a politician saying, trust me, I'm a politician, but he's giving us medicine, he's telling us to get vaccinated. So as a result, there's been a lot of us who have woken up and say, well, I don't trust you, I want to take some of this authority back. So now as a result, we've got all these people who are waking up, and there's hundreds and hundreds in Gippsland, and we've come together through Stand in the Parks, through other sorts of meetings, and I think part of the reason coming together here is how do we harness this energy, how do we move forward in some cohesive way, and how do we make it in such a way that we benefit in all areas. So we learn to see that because we've got a mishmash coming together, we do have schooling, we have education, we have health, we have gardens, we have farmers, and all these issues. And so we look at, well, how do we sort of put this together in a way that it benefits us all, and we actually gain from this coming together of a newfound freedom. Noel, what do you reckon?
For many years now, they've dismantled the avenues and the mechanisms for people to interact with their governance. It used to be years ago in the 70s and early 80s, there was progress associations and action groups in every local community where they got together and addressed local issues, and that was their conduit into local government. And through those networks, that was another link to state government and on to federal government. All those little groups have been dismantled as we were forced into a more isolated mindset where everyone stayed home and mind their own business. That's been pushed for a number of years now. What's happened now is there's been a great upheaval and an overreach of a government that wants to walk into everybody's life and dictate absolutely everything what's going on, even down to what you put in your body, how you put it in your body, when you put it in your body, and why you have to put it into your body. And if you don't do it, you'll be punished socially through, not being allowed access to public service as well. At the height of the lockdowns, you were locked in your home. You weren't allowed to have access to libraries, swimming pools, things along those lines, which is a great. That's a great encroachment on human rights and your right of freedom and liberty to be able to move around in a free country, which Australia is. So I think what's happened is people realise that overreach of governments and have decided they would like to interact with their governance again, but there's no mechanisms of how to do that. So all those mechanisms were formulated and structured and effective. We've had to relearn that again. We have to relearn how to do that again. And I think this part of this group here and the larger assembly is chartered with the task of structuring that and providing avenues for people to interact with governance, how they would like to see it run, and to implement changes they would like to see, not things being made and then we're told what's happening. Oh, this has just been sold. We'll tell you about it. You know, they say they consult, they don't. I'm talking about our administrators and government. They say they consult. I think they cherry pick their consultations to hear what they want to hear. They don't really talk to the general public. In fact, the general public are encouraged not to pay any attention at all. That's another thing we'd like to turn that around too with education. So effectively, it's about giving the people back some interaction with the governance of their country.
And I'd like to maybe add to this too, is that over some time, we, the general community, all the people, we've just lost that insight of the town hall, over time, where we've got complacent and pretty easygoing, and we had trusted our elected leaders of governance to, that was their job, and they know what's best, and they'll look after us. So we got a little bit sleepy on that, if not very asleep, and a real, like was pointed out, a real wake up that our government is very authoritarian. And it's not only just the government, but there's other assemblies and people. Some have already known, but what we're really learning now is that we got another chance to be able to have one foot in with mainstream government that we have now, and the other foot is we're creating with our Silk Road and with other assemblies around. But we're learning now.
Back to community.
Back to community, but we know that it takes effort and work. And I really believe today's meeting is to demonstrate to our current friends of these groups in our local area and our common law assembly is that so we need to be involved in not only help support and establish what we're doing, but as well as for us to be a part of that change. We just can't point the finger and be upset or angry. We'll create as well as we'll stand alongside of our elected leaders and people in the public to show the way, to point out to things, but we're actively involved. So it's called, some say it's a bit like a parallel society.
So what was the outcome, or what do you think about the something?
Something about something? I know a lot about something, a little about... No, we were chewing the fat today. So lots of interesting situations came up and it was great. We fleshed out a lot of things. We can see there's a lot of work to be done, but we can actually see light at the end of the tunnel.
And really what it's all about is we're just opening up more pathways for our friends of our Silk Road community to get involved with us more. There's always conversations when we meet only on the Sunday, and then with our markets we get together more, but there's more to come. And we're just kind of going over that to see how we could share that with others and get others involved more.
I think today was a really good step in the right direction to actually achieve some sort of unity across the entire Gippsland with all the groups coming together. under one code of ethics, under one mission statement, and under one vision. So we start to grow in numbers, and we start to have safety in the community, to grow the community. I think it's a really good step in the right direction.
Thank you all. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to be working on this and developing and growing it over a good amount of time. Yeah. All right. See you later. Bye. I got to grab my stuff. And it's another day. That was a really good meeting, but I had to run off to another meeting, which was a birthday, which wasn't really appropriate to capture. So here we are, and I had a lovely surprise this morning, a message from Michael from Cafe Lockout asking me if I wanted to join his morning show again. And I was like, awesome, sure. So I have about half an hour impromptu setup. Should be good. We're going to do it in the paddock. So what a rush that was. I got my my setup here and just waiting for Michael to do his thing. I'm on the screen there. Hello. So yeah, what a lovely surprise. It's going to be it's a beautiful morning. I'm just up in the paddock where there's reception because I can't use the satellite internet. So Michael interviewed me the other day. I'll put a little snippet here. The fact is, if you have a vision and you push for it as hard as you can, I mean, it's coming up to the year mark, and what we've achieved in a year is incredible. We've got communities connected, we've got local systems building, our gardens, our markets, other community events, and it hasn't even been a full year yet. And I just think about 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. So now Michael and I are just going to have a quick chat this morning, and I just thought I may as well capture it, and I'll put a little highlight in, and I'll link to it if you want to watch it. So better get to it. We're about to go on.
Jeremy.
Hey, how you going, Michael?
I'm good. I'm just going to put up here now in the comments. So let's see. I met you in Traralgon and at a great meeting. And we did an interview, and you talked to me about the Silk Road initiative that you're doing, your Silk Road community. Now, in the text, I've said, so you used to work for Coca-Cola, you moved to Gippsland to start a new life. You lost that job. You were doing YouTube, working with a YouTuber, and then you were selling seedlings, organic seedlings. Yep. In farmers markets until they told you that that's not essential, and then rather than giving in, you started setting up this Silk Road community, and it's all based on a quote that you love. So let's start there, and I'll let you go. Tell us about the quote that you love.
The most important thing in life is to have a dream. The second most important thing in life is to have a dream. And the third most important thing in life is to have a dream. And it goes on and it continues because it's the most important thing in life. Because if you dedicate yourself to that dream and work as hard as you possibly can and take action on it, and not just dream, but push yourself and live that dream, then you can achieve anything. I love you. Bye.